Hello, and welcome to Chart Attack. It's a podcast where we jump in our great big pop time machine and select a number one single between the year 2000 and today, and we discuss it.
Yes, hello everyone. Back once again, I'm Martin Young, here with Abigail Firth for the final episode of this series of Chart Attack. Looks like we've made it. Look how far we've come now, baby, as someone famous might have said. So yeah, hello everyone. Today's episode, we're fast forwarding right to the end of the 2010s. Yes, it's time to talk about the big dog, Ed Sheeran, and his mammoth hit, Shape of You.
I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. And last night you were in my room. And now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something
Abby,
brand new.
what do you think about Ed Sheeran? This is one we've had to talk about, isn't it? Save it to them.
Yeah, it's one that we can't ignore. And I think it's quite an important episode as well, because this, in terms of the chart, changed everything.
Yeah.
But we'll see as we'll delve into that later on. But I don't think this is a bad song. I think it was certainly an overplayed song, an inescapable song throughout 2017.
Ed Sheeran is always inescapable, but certainly so in 2017.
Yeah, this was like Ed Sheeran leveling up yet again.
Yeah, so you can argue that this song kind of killed the charts as everyone knew them for about 50 years. Well, not just the song on its own, but just Ed Sheeran just as a concept in general. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about in today's episode, because this is a monster hit in many, many, many ways. But,
this is the longest running number one that we've talked about as well.
Yeah, like a proper monster hit. So as we always do, we want to give you the facts on this song. So Abigail, tell me about Shape of You. Tell me about Ed Sheeran. What is going on with this song?
So, if you haven't heard it, I literally don't know how.
Yeah, write in if you haven't heard this song and hear it for the first time when we talk about it, because that would be incredible.
Yeah, that's some real god tier off grid living.
Yeah.
But it was the lead single for Ed Sheeran's third album, Divide, and it was released as a double lead single alongside Castle on the Hill on the 6th of January 2017. So straight out the gate in 2017, and we're already being subjected to two Ed Sheeran songs.
Here I am, I'm back. Let's go.
So it debuted at number one, and it stayed there for a massive 13 weeks, which is pretty strong, but he hadn't had enough there. It was dethroned for 1 week by Harry Styles making his solo debut with Sign of the Times.
Yep, not a good song, by the way. I'll just make that clear right now.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, don't come for me, Harry fans, but it's not.
But Ed took that off the top spot again for a further 1 week, and then after that, lost the top spot to Clean Bandit and Zara Larsson's Symphony.
Yeah, that's so weird how it was like 1 week back, and then that was it. That was strange.
Funnily enough as well, it was like, aside from the Harry interlude, was backed by two Clean Bandit songs. So Shape of You knocked Rockabye off number one, and then it was eventually toppled by Symphony. So
I cannot
big time as well.
I cannot think of a more late sort of 2010s act than Clean Bandit.
Yeah, I would agree. But if you want some more statistics on how big this song was,
give us the numbers,
Shape
please.
of You, it was the first song to hit 2 billion streams on Spotify, which is a record it held on to for a really long time, I think up until this year. And it's now second, sits behind Blinding Lights by The Weeknd.
Yeah.
It was also the best performing, and I think this is an interesting change of wording now that we're into 2017 and we're well into like the streaming era.
Yeah.
So previously it would have probably been best selling or biggest selling song, but now they're calling it like best performing. Biggest performing song of 2017.
Yeah. So yeah, we're firmly in the streaming sort of dominance period.
Yeah, for sure. Castle on the Hill, which was like the other single that dropped at the same time, that also went to number 2, meaning Ed Sheeran was the first artist to debut 2 new songs in the top 2 positions on the UK chart.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And I think the right song went to number 1 out of those 2.
Yeah. So we'll get into like why he did 2 in a little bit, but I think the one that was a bit more unexpectedly Ed went to number 1.
Yeah. So do you want to know a little bit about the actual song itself, how it was created?
Yes, please. Let's know how it was made.
So this track, so Ed, he's pretty prolific. That's another word that's hard for me to say. Prolific.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran. So many words. Words are hard. But yeah. So he writes all the time. So when he first wrote this song, I think it was originally created with Rihanna in mind, which you can imagine. So it was said to be a track for her and Rudimental. Right. So Ed wrote it with pop producer Steve Mack, who is a bit of a pop legend. So a very well-established writer and producer. So he's known for loads of pop group chart hits from the late 90s onwards. So you've got Westlife, Five, JLS, One Direction, Little Mix, Way More, all the legends. And one more person involved in this track. Writer. Yeah, one more person involved in this track was Johnny McDaid, who is from Snow Patrol. So there you go. So Steve Mack is having a great 2017. So and I'm knocking his old work off the top spot twice because he also worked on Rockabye and Symphony with Clean Bandit. So Steve Mack actually held number 1 for 22 consecutive weeks.
Steve Mack is like the British Max Martin.
The British Max Martin, yeah.
He's just a hit machine.
That is true. Yeah.
Hit machine, but for X Factor rejects.
Yeah, totally. So the song, though, fell out of favour for Rihanna when the lyrics they were writing ended up being a little bit too British for Rihanna. So Ed was talking on BBC Radio 1 Breakfast Show, and he said that he thought, she's not really going to sing on that. And she didn't. But Little Mix were also apparently in the running to record it. But Ed decided, no, this is too good for you. I'm going to keep this. Because, this is the one for me. So, he decided to do a double A-side, which in 2017, pretty uncommon, because that was kind of a thing of the 90s when you used to, like, obviously have 2 sides to either a record or you would have, like, 2 CDs. And streaming doesn't really make sense. But he done it anyway, because he can. And also because he couldn't pick one lead single to properly represent the album. So this is where you get to Ed Sheeran being quite smart. A clever sort of pop person. Because
quite a tactical pop star.
Yeah, because as he told Carson Daly on AMP Radio, the quote is, the way the albums are being released now, you have to just kind of make up your own rules. There's no rule book to follow. You just have to do things that people aren't doing. Yes, which is something many pop stars have done following this period. Our old friend Jay-Z, remember him from numerous rap verses and some songs we've talked about?
Yeah, third mention this series.
Yes. So he was also asked to do a guest verse on this track, but he declined. He said, I don't think this song needs a rap verse. Although Ed said that Jay-Z is normally right, he still wanted to get a little rap verse in there. So that didn't stop him listing Stormzy for a rap verse instead, which he premiered live at the Brits on the 22nd of February. So big, massive moment for this song, doing that Brits performance. The song was everywhere. Huge sort of cultural moment, which kind of exemplifies how big this song was during that period. But
I think getting Stormzy on the track as well is probably more suitable for Ed, considering when you consider like Ed's roots. Like I think it makes sense to have Stormzy on there. Yeah.
So give us an example of some of those roots about where he kind of came from and how this is actually a fit that's actually quite nice for Ed.
Well, Ed Sheeran started on SBTV, which was like a YouTube channel platform for mostly British rappers in like the early 2010s, late 2000s. It's created by Jamal Edwards, who, rest in peace, has, I think, it completely changed like the British rap game. I think it was quite an influential platform. And for some reason, Ed Sheeran was part of it.
Yeah, like legitimately part of it. And it's kind of why this song doesn't feel like any sort of massive curveball or anything. But it feels like a nice, yeah. It feels like it makes sense. But did everyone like it at the time? Did anyone love it? What were people saying at the time?
What were people saying at the time?
Yes.
I think it got quite mixed reviews. There were quite a lot of safe comments on it. When Divide came out, there were a lot of like safe 4 stars, but then there were some that completely panned it. So we'll start with a positive one. We've got Madison Vane at Entertainment Weekly, who gave the song a B+, saying it revives his intimate and hypnotic guitar looping.
It does, yes.
Yeah, which of course is something that Ed has always been famous for. His use of the loop pedal
Big with
and
the
the acoustic
loops.
guitar. In a Pitchfork review, this is not so positive, of the album Divide. Obviously, Pitchfork hated it. So Laura Snapes gave the album 2.8, which is very scathing, even for a Pitchfork review.
Oh no.
Not even a mild 5.4.
This review is notorious for being very harsh.
Yeah.
I think.
Very, very famous. But she said, you can practically hear Rihanna's laugh after being offered the tropical house concession Shape of You. The song generally fares fine until Sheeran, the 7th richest British musician under the age of 30, admits to his dating style. Which I think
Rihanna,
Ed
I don't
was
think
pretty
Rihanna would
aware
hate this.
of. Like, there's a reason that this song didn't go to Rihanna.
She might
I
not
don't
think
think she
some of
would
the
hate it. I can't
lyrics are
necessarily
right, but I don't
hear
think she
her
would
on
hate it.
When we were talking about... When we were talking about Umbrella, like, and that going to, like, potentially going to Britney, like, you can hear Britney's voice on it. Whereas this one, I can't really hear Rihanna's voice on it. But I think, like I say, I think Ed was probably aware of the fact that it wasn't right for Rihanna when he was writing the song.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't give it to her.
I don't think Rihanna would laugh at it, though.
I don't know. Maybe she would.
Who knows what Rihanna laughs at? Who knows what Rihanna finds funny? But yeah, what else? So that is a bit harsh, I think, the whole Pitchfork thing.
Yeah.
I can see
I'm not a fan of the album myself.
Yeah, I can see the rationale behind what they're saying, but I mean, I think give them some credit. Come on.
We also had Jeremy Gordon at Spin, who said that the song is a plausible attempt at convincing us he has had sex. A lot of it. It kind of slaps, though you can't really picture Sheeran ever saying, "Put that body on me," to a real human woman.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think
that one.
See, I think that's more accurate than the Pitchfork comment.
I'll give him that one, yeah.
But there's also an amazing line in that review where the writer is like explaining Ed's career. He says, he looks like he was pulled out of a hedgerow, writes occasionally intense songs about his ex-girlfriends that mildly cross the line into problematic territory, and was once named the most important voice in black music, despite being a pale ginger boy.
Yeah. Probably.
Kind of links back to what we were just saying.
Yeah.
He's one of those like artists that is randomly really associated with like black British culture.
Yeah. Do you think he was just pure luck to do that, or is it? Did they really appreciate? Is that a testament to his skill and his talent?
Well, I'm not super familiar with like the lore of Ed, but like he did in 2011. I don't know I feel like it was pre his debut album coming out, but he did like the number 5 collaborations projects, and that's got like JME and Wiley and everyone on it. Like, he was really involved in the SBTV scene. And there's also, oh my god, can we get a clip of this, by the way? That video of him rapping about Nando's with Example.
I said, boy, are you gonna bang? Don't know. I want some fucking Nando's, wanna eat it up with chicken and chips. Every now and then I freestyle like this. When I freestyle on the beat about chicken, you know it's finger licking, and I'm gonna pass it over to Example. Now he's gonna freestyle and he's gonna show you how he do.
Chicken wings, they're my favorite things, and I love to sing. I say chicken.
Yeah.
When he got a Nando's black card.
Yeah, we've finally got to episode 10 and we've managed to mention example as well. So success all round.
Yeah, but that, oh my god, that just came to me then.
Yeah, get it in there.
Yeah. So we got Nando's black card as well.
Wow.
Early on in his career.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's quite a nice way of, not nice, but it's quite an accurate way of condensing his career into one sentence.
Yeah, we'll give him that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have, obviously, there's a hell of a lot of reviews for this because Ed Sheeran was like one of the biggest pop stars in the world in 2017. So it wasn't slim pickings.
Yeah.
So we also had Taylor Weatherby at Billboard, who said, it doesn't quite sound like your typical Sheeran tune, and said he'd been creating music that still feels like Sheeran, just with a new twist. Again, that's fair.
Yeah.
But for all of the critics, for the naysayers, it did also get shortlisted for the 2017 Mercury Prize, which is crazy to me because the album is horror. It's not a good album.
Yeah.
I get that conceptually it's supposed to be, I'm guessing, like a tour of all of the places that he went on the Multiply World Tour and like all of the influences he picked up along the way.
Yeah.
But the pacing, oh my god, what is going on? It's not paced well. I felt like I had whiplash. And honestly, by the end of it, I was like, I really can't do this anymore. Like, I can't. I need this album to be over. I'm so sorry, Ed. I didn't just come on here to like slag you off, but like, it's not. It's not for me.
It was for some people though, was it? One person in particular.
Yeah. So if you Google Ed Sheeran Divide Review, you can go into like the Google like audience score. So it has an audience score of 4.8 out of 5. So the people loved it. User Rahul Kumar called it the best pop album ever recorded in history.
I love the faith of this person.
Which is truly a statement.
Mr. Kumar.
So that was what was going on in Mr. Kumar's life.
Mr.
What else
Kumar,
was going on?
I love Mr. Kumar's faith and the gloriousness of pop. We salute you.
Yeah. Shout out to Rahul.
Yes.
But what else was going on in the news and media, Martin?
Well, there's one big event in January 2017. So this song like spans the whole of spring. So I could talk about everything. But the week that it was number one was just after the big deal of Donald Trump's inauguration. So grim times indeed. However, a good story related to that is that in the same week, so you know Max Branning from EastEnders?
I'm familiar.
The ginger villainous heartthrob from EastEnders. Well, he used Twitter to convince the whole world that Barry from EastEnders sang "There's Something Inside So Strong" at Donald Trump's inauguration. So I'm sure you're aware of this famous clip. So it's a clip we know where he does the "We're gonna do it anyway, we're gonna do it anyway, we're gonna do it anyway," and then "There's something inside so strong." You know what I'm talking about.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Can we also get a clip of the...
We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway.
Gotta get some singing in by episode 10. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
John Williamson, Barry from EastEnders, legend. I have no idea where he actually sang that song. I think, is it a bowling, something? I think it was something weird. But the whole world thought he was at the inauguration due to Max Branning, aka Jake Wood. So that's a bit of fun going on that week. Something else going on this same week, Celebrity Big Brother. It's the one with Spidey and lots of other people who I have no recollection of at all.
I do remember this series. When you were like running off the people who were part of it, I was like, oh yeah, I do remember it. It's the one where Kim Woodburn and Colleen Nolan are fighting, and Kim Woodburn calls Nicola, I forget her name.
McLean, I think. Is it McLean?
Yeah, Nicola McLean. She's doing, "You're an adulterer."
Yeah,
That's
that is a good
Chicken
clip.
livered shits. That one.
that is a good clip, yeah. So that's going on the same
That's
week.
the only thing I remember from it, though.
Yeah, so that's going on the same week. But the sort of main thing that was going on in the world following Shape of You getting to number one is the kind of the backlash and the aftermath of the Ed Sheeran Armageddon when the album came out. So the album came out in April, and this is what prompted the whole landscape around the singles chart to change forever, right? So let me tell you. So when the album came out, the album Divide came out in April, and the song was already number one, had been number one for ages and ages. But when the album came out, it took up 9 places in the whole top 10. Ed Sheeran was absolutely everywhere in that top 10.
Can I just point out that the only thing that slipped through the net was the Chainsmokers Coldplay collaboration. So the British chart was in a sorry state. 9 Ed Sheeran songs and a Coldplay Chainsmokers collaboration.
Not a good song.
What on earth?
Very much not a good song. So, so they were everywhere. Even Galway Girl got into the top 10, which is a song everyone hates from this album, but I would like to say I like it, and I think it's a good song. There you go.
Galway Girl also went to number one in Ireland.
Yeah.
That went
Lots
to
of
number
these other
one,
songs.
and Shape of You went to number 2. So all of that like shameless pandering to the Irish crowd
Yeah, and
actually worked.
So many of these songs like got to number one. They were all over. That's the point. Like every single thing entered the charts, because in streaming, it didn't matter if someone was designated as a single.
Yeah.
Any song in the world could enter the charts, and if enough people were streaming and listening to it, it would stay in the charts conceivably forever. So the charts company who organised the charts thought, we're going to have to do something about this, because we could get some farcical situations. You know, like Mr. Brightside could be in the top 10 for like the rest of time. You know, massive popular songs would just stick around forever. And it got to that, farcical sort of situation where Ed Sheeran took up almost the whole top 10. So we thought, we can't allow this to happen anymore. So they decided they were going to change things. So this is kind of informally known in chart circles as the Ed Sheeran rule, right? Which changed the rules behind the singles chart.
Yeah.
And these changes came in July 2017. So the main part of it was any act is only allowed 3 songs in the chart any one time. So that's basically the main principle of it. So when an artist releases an album, so Ed Sheeran, for example, when he releases an album now, the most popular 3 songs will enter the top 100 of the singles chart, whatever they are, and the rest of them will not be able to enter the charts. You can still see all the data of how much they've been streamed and consumed, etc., but only 3 can be the proper hits. So a recent contrast to this is in America, where they have not implemented anything like this, and basically anything can enter the charts. So Drake has swept the whole top 10 with one of his albums, and most recently with Midnight's Taylor Swift in the whole top 10. Every single song from Midnight's charted in the top 10.
I would be interested to see if Billboard employs any kind of rule against it.
Yeah, because it's so, because you have these minor album tracks that are like forever labeled as like top 10 singles, and some people just don't remember them. So I think this rule kind of makes sense. What do you think?
Yeah, I would largely agree. Obviously, the way that we consume music has changed. So obviously, like in the past, way back when, you would buy the single, and then once you got it, you got it.
Yeah, whoever sells the most is number one.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And then there would be a natural turnover. Obviously, nowadays, if a song's popular and what is considered a sale is like however many streams, and people are consistently streaming it, then there are songs that, and we still do get songs that stay in the charts for ages.
Yeah.
There's still, even like last year, like As It Was number one for 11 weeks.
Yeah.
Like it was a really long standing number one.
So the point now though is to sort of artificially sort of manage that. So
Yeah.
one thing that they've introduced as well around about the same time was something that's called the ACR ratio. So that's called accelerated chart ratio. And a lot of this is like boring sort of number stuff if you get into the weeds of it. But just to simplify it, is basically once the song starts declining in its streams and its consumption for 3 weeks in a row, then those streams will count for less than hits that are rising and increasing in their streams, basically. So that will cause the song to artificially drop down the charts. So if, for example, when As It Was number one for 11, 12 weeks, whatever it was, once it started to drop in its consumption, it was then still being streamed in the same volume, still the most popular song in the whole of the country, but they just artificially chopped it in half for its streams, basically. So then it just fell out the charts. Well, it fell out the top 10. It stayed in like the top 15, I think. It stayed there. But another song who was theoretically being consumed less and is less popular replaced it at number one. So you have some weird dichotomies going on now. And that's kind of why some people question the relevance of the charts. But I think anything that makes it more fresh and keeps a turnover of songs by whatever sort of methods that they use is probably a good thing on balance.
Yeah. Because, like, when you think about it, if you had a song that had been consistently streamed, like, and consistently being, like, the biggest streamed song for however long, realistically, something could be a number one for years at a time.
Yeah, remember, this is 2017, we're talking about Shape of You, right? In 2023, streaming and the proliferation of it and every other metric that you have has increased exponentially, massively every single year. So if, for example, a monster song like Shape of You was released now under the system that it was when it was released, that could be number one for literally a whole year, easily. So if you look at the stats as well...
I also think that there's like... Because single sales are practically obsolete, but album sales still are quite relevant. I think that there's a massive difference between the singles chart and the albums chart in terms of like turnover.
Definitely. We haven't done any figures on this, but I think if you look at the number, see, remember when we done our episodes in 2000 for, Craig David and for Spiller? In that time, getting a number one, you were selling, firstly, a lot of records, like Out of Your Mind sold over 100,000 singles, got to number two. It's considered a flop, right? But that's a massive amount, right? And there was a turnover of number ones. There was lots and lots of number ones. Things were number one for a week at a time, etc., right? Probably if you look now in like 2022, 2023, there's going to be less number ones. So you have things that stay for a long time, then drop out. So it's kind of a compromise method that they've got, but it's probably the thing that they have to do and the only thing that they can do to keep the charts here. Because it's a thing, as pop fans, we all love, no matter what age we are, we all want it to be here and someone we've all grown up with, and we want it to sort of carry on, don't we?
Of course. But I think that we're missing one crucial thing in what was going on in 2017.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about something else that's been going on forever?
Please.
So, to go back to our final trip to Weatherfield in Coronation Street, some sad news is our dear friend Gail Platt is not involved this week in 2017. She must be on a nice little relaxing holiday, which
she's been replaced by Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, she's deserved a break after everything she's been through. But this week on the episode of Coronation Street from the episode on the 17th of January 2017, Chesney is warned by his friend to go carefully with that big kebab knife. I don't know why he's walking about with a big kebab knife, but fair enough.
Because he works in the kebab shop.
Does he work? Does he generally work in the big kebab shop?
Yeah. Well, it's Dev's kebab shop.
Ah, I see. I didn't know Dev had a kebab shop.
Oh, he's got the monopoly on the street.
Wow.
He owns he's got quite a few businesses up there. He does all right for himself, our Dev.
Clever man, Dev. Clever man. There's some drama going on in Kevin Webster's garage, though. this week.
Oh, sorry, I just want to add that the kebab shop is called Prima Donna.
Prima Donna. Stream Prima Donna by, is it Prima Donna by Marina Diamonds? Prima Donna Girl? Is that the song?
Yeah.
Yeah, stream that
Prima
one.
Donna.
Good song. Yeah, good song. So there's some drama going on in Kevin Webster's garage as he accuses Tyrone of running over his stapler with a Ford Fiesta.
That Tyrone.
That was the biggest story that I could find. Run over his stapler. You'd be annoyed though if you left your stapler lying on the middle of the road and then someone just comes along in a Ford Fiesta and runs over it. Would be annoying, wouldn't it?
What? Don't leave your stapler in the road.
If there's one thing you can remember from this podcast is do not ever leave your stapler in the middle of the road.
Or run with big kebab knives.
Yeah. And finally, in this episode, there is a truly disturbing scene where Tyrone and his pal at the garage are doing the full dance to the time warp from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah.
What a way to end that
Horrible.
segment.
Horrible. You ever danced the time warp before?
I actually feel like I was probably also dancing the time warp a lot in 2017. I was definitely dancing lovely segue into the personal memory section.
Yes.
But I was definitely dancing the Saturday night dance a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So me and my housemate at the time, because I was in my second year of uni when this song came out. When Shape of You, sorry, not Saturday Night. So me and my housemate at the time figured out that you could do the Macarena to any song, and you could do the Saturday Night Dance to any song.
Is this true? Is this? No, I've not tried it out, but yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Oh yeah, you can. It was basically just 8 beats.
Right.
So it's. I mean, you can't see that I'm doing it, but I'm doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember this song coming out. I feel like I heard it for the first time in a New Music Friday playlist while I was sitting doing an assignment, because had to do, you had to multitask, had to keep up with the pop culture and also do your uni work. But also important to note that we're finally in global release date territory now. So when we say Shape of You came out on 6th of January, it came out on 6th of January everywhere. It wasn't separate releases for CDs and separate releases for different countries. It was just one day. And we're into New Music Friday as well. It's everything comes out on a Friday by 2017. I don't know when that change came into place.
The chart was on the Friday. This is the first song that we've done where the chart was on the Friday.
Yeah. I think that it changed to Fridays in 2015.
Yeah, it changed to Fridays.
Everything used to come out on a Monday before, yeah.
Yeah, it changed because of Rebecca Black's song Friday. That's what the impetus was.
Absolutely. But I think my first impressions of the song were surprised that it was an Ed Sheeran song, but also I was like, oh, okay, this is actually not sappy or droopy. It's quite upbeat and fun.
Oh wow.
But yeah, and even though this song stayed at number 1 throughout the spring, and I nearly said oh, it was only number 1 in the spring, as if that was not an incredible feat. But it was, even though it was only number 1 in the spring, it was everywhere all year. It was just inescapable. You would hear this song probably every time you left the house in 2017. And I think it was quite versatile in that respect. Any night out that I went on, no matter what genre of music the club played, whether you were at in a cheesy club or in a somewhere that played I don't know, UK hip hop, or if you were somewhere that played I'm trying to think of genres of clubs.
It was
really, I don't go out that much.
It was a universal hit. I mean, it was one of those songs that is just everywhere. It was
and there were remixes of it, and it was just constantly on. And I also want to add that 2017 was an incredibly evil chart year. Ed Sheeran aside, There were so many other evil songs that went either top 10 or number 1, and I really hated it. Like, I hated the songs that were in the charts.
One song that was number 1
Great
though.
year for like left field pop. I will say, great year for like, because it was still like the year of Pop 2 and Melodrama and like the Haim album that came out that year. It was like Carly Rae Jepsen's Cut to the Feeling. Like, there was really good like just left of the mainstream pop.
Yeah, we can tell you probably the best song.
Actual chart.
Yeah,
disgrace.
The best number 1 probably for 2017 is "Look What You Made Me Do." Maybe we can tell you about it at some point when we do another series.
Yeah, that's going to be a long episode.
Yeah,
but shout out to Taylor.
Yes, of course. So what I was doing in 2017 was just what I'm doing now. Just right in for Dork. I did my first Dork cover feature, I think the time this is number 1, April 2017, with the dearly beloved...
Have a round of applause.
Yes, the dearly beloved and now departed band Blind Avon, who are legends of the scene. Ben Gregory from Blind Avon has released an album this year. Really good. Go and check that out. I think that cover is still... I don't think you can buy it. Maybe you can, I'm not sure, but you can maybe find it somewhere online. But that was a good moment for me personally. In terms of Ed Sheeran, right? I used to work with an Ed Sheeran impersonator. I worked with him for 2 weeks.
Not at Dork, by the way.
Not at Dork.
There's not an Ed Sheeran impersonator at Dork.
As far as I'm aware, we do not have an Ed Sheeran impersonator working at Dork. But in my other life, so I'm not going to out this person by name, but he looked very much like Ed Sheeran. And he could sing. He could sing and he could perform and everything like that. So when we found out he's an Ed Sheeran impersonator, I worked with him for 2 weeks. I had to train him on some stuff. So I said to him, I hope I don't teach you any bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I did there? And he just blanked it, didn't acknowledge it. So I don't know. I don't know if he was wanting to keep his Ed Sheeran-ness on the down low. Maybe he was ashamed for some reason.
That's such a lie, Martin. You didn't say that either, because Bad Habits didn't even come out until last year.
No, it was last year. I was working with him. I literally said that.
Oh,
I think I said it while Bad Habits was in number 1 in the charts.
Oh, okay.
And then he went to go and do some work in a chilled freezer, and it says, "You better wear that jacket because I hope you don't get any shivers."
Okay.
I didn't actually say that one.
You thought about it though.
Yeah, I spent the whole day just thinking, like, is there an Ed Sheeran reference I can get in here? So yeah.
How many times did he clock it?
Well, I don't know if he clocked it every time, but he just would not acknowledge any blank. Yeah. So
with that in mind, shall we have a breakdown of this song?
I think you need to tell us. What is this? Because this song, right? There's things about this song. There's a little bit of controversy about it as well, but let's get into the actual song, the meat of it.
I think that this is quite like a pleasant change of pace for Ed, I would say.
Yeah, like he's coming out with a big banger. I mean, the song that we'll tell you that Ed Sheeran at the time of recording is number 1 right now with a song that is very much not Shape of You.
I think up until this point as well, like he'd done like a rudimental collaboration, like about 2015 or something. But he wasn't like famous for doing bangers. Like, he had slightly more upbeat Ed Sheeran songs. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
the lead single from the previous album, that was kind of maybe in the same vein, but it wasn't as as sort of bouncy, I think, and as good as this one.
Yeah. I think his most famous song at this point was Thinking Out Loud.
Yeah, like massive like wedding song. One thing that he's famous for.
Oh yeah. My cousin got married in 2014 and had Thinking Out Loud and also All of Me by John Legend at the wedding.
If you want a first dance song at a wedding, Ed Sheeran.
A picture of 2014. But yeah, it's got like a very like vague dance hall kind of flavour to it. And it's quite Trop House as well. I feel like Trop House was really popular around this time. There was a lot of like that kind of plinky marimba rhythm going on in the charts. But I think Ed doing it with like the percussion on the guitar and everything
Yeah.
keeps it very Ed. I think it sounds like Ed. It doesn't sound too far from like something that he would do,
Yeah.
but it's just a bit more exciting.
Yeah. It feels
And it also like it has that interpolation of No Scrubs as well in the pre-chorus, which spawned so many mashups when people realised that you could do that.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even bear thinking about how many people were like, oh, let's do like Shape of You into No Scrubs. That'd be really genius.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah.
Wow. But Candy Buress, Tamika Tiny Cottle, and Kevin Shakespeare Briggs are also credited as writers.
As they should. I'll tell you right now that No Scrubs is the greatest song of the whole 90s. I will not have anyone tell me otherwise. That's what I'm saying. So, obviously, it interpolates No Scrubs. It sounds like some other stuff, right?
Yes.
And this is where it gets horny when it comes to Shape of You. So, there was a big sort of plagiarism court case brought against Ed in the years after the song came out, where it was asserted that it copied Sammy Switch's 2015 song, Oh Why. So Sammy Switch, the writers of Sammy Switch's song, thought Ed has literally heard this and taken it wholesale and used it. That's what they were alleging. So there was a whole court case where they went into the song in specific detail from a sort of musicology point of view, looking at it. But essentially, the court's verdict was that it did not intentionally plagiarise that song. So Ed himself was given, he was up there as a witness in the case. He was given evidence, and he was trying to go into his like creative process and how he kind of writes, and the fact that the way pop is sort of constructed now, you know, the direct quote from Ed is, there are only so many notes and very few chords used in pop music, and coincidences are bound to happen. If 60,000 songs are being released a day on Spotify, that is 22 million songs a year, and there are only 12 notes that are available. So Ed was saying, you know, lots of things sound like lots of other things. So during the trial, he was actually singing at the witness stand, showing how, and it shows how kind of instinctive his creative process is. How he's a little bit like a magpie, so he kind of does things, picks up things. So he was singing things like No Diggity by Blackstreet to show how common the sort of melody and Shape of You is, because you can hear it in lots of other songs. And another quote he gave was, he said it was a basic minor pentatonic pattern, which is entirely commonplace. So yeah, it's just lots of things. So if you look into sort of the detail about songs that interpolate other songs and things like that, and credits given and everything like that, is like there's so many stuff that does sound similar, and there's no getting away from it.
Yeah.
So it's getting that balance between what is direct plagiarism, where you've heard something and knowingly ripped it off and not credited it, and just something that's maybe an homage or something that, you know, just coincidentally sounds like something.
I think it's interesting how far stuff like this can go as well, because you end up with like Olivia Rodrigo on Sour crediting Hayley Williams for Good For You. And yeah, it sounds vaguely like Misery Business, but it's not like a direct copy. It's not like, it's just a similar song.
Yeah, and there's they also credit Taylor on For a Cruel Summer as well, I think.
Yeah,
but
which
like,
I can barely hear that comparison.
Like Taylor Swift is an incredible writer, but she did not create like shouting in a song, you know?
Yeah.
She doesn't own
that. And
that.
I think that they're also, Taylor and Jack Antonoff are also credited on One Step Forward and Three Steps Back.
Yeah.
Because the melody is like, now that one does make sense because the actual piano chord progression is exactly the same as New Year's Day, I believe is what it is.
Yeah.
But because they did that, then they ended up crediting all these other artists. And like, I don't know, where do we draw the line with it? It's not an answer that I have, but it just seemed to be getting a bit out of hand.
Yeah, it's something that if you explore it, there's lots of stuff going on. So it's an interesting topic. With specific reference to Shape of You, it's the pre-chorus bit with the why, that bit.
Mm.
That's the bit that they were certain was exactly the same. I know it
Which
is,
again,
it is really similar, but
it is similar, but it's also not like it's also not like the most mind-blowing melody. It's just oh I, isn't it? It's like it's not
simple stuff.
Like yeah,
and that's what Ed's really good at, simple stuff like that. So, but I think the whole court case. So this kind of concluded, only really concluded in like 2021, I think, or maybe even 2022. So really recent. And it took a bit of a toll on him, I think. So one of the quotes he gave after the court summary was given, and he was cleared of plagiarising it. He says, "I'm not an entity. I'm not a corporation. I'm a human being. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son." So there you go.
Yeah. And I mean, far be it from me to defend Ed Sheeran, but I do think he's right in that, like, there are so many songs in the world. It's impossible to keep reinventing the wheel. Like, there are going to be coincidences.
Yeah, when pop music has
like,
been around in recorded form for like 70 years, you're going to have things that sound like each other. But this song they created, why was this song the biggest song? Because Ed was big beforehand, but why did he get so big on the back of this?
So I think by 2017 he'd been away for quite a while. It's not that long, but in pop star terms, like 2 years is quite a long time.
Yeah.
So the last song he'd released was like a couple of singles, I think, from Multiply. And I think the Rudimental collaboration, Bloodstream, that had come out in 2015. So I think that there was like anticipation for new Ed, and anything that he did was going to go to number one, if not at least top 10. Like, he's one of those artists where whatever he does, it's going to do well. But I do think that he's quite switched on. I think that even though I'm not really an Ed fan myself, I think that there's stuff that he does. He's very in tune with like the business aspect of it, of being an artist. He's quite a tactical pop star, and I don't think he's like afraid of letting people know that either. Because obviously he put 2 tracks out at the same time, and I think his method behind that was, well, if one of them doesn't go to number one, then the other one will. And he did it right at the start of the year, before like all the Song of the Summer contenders started coming in. He was like he was vocal about one of them being designed for Radio 1 and the other being designed for Radio 2, so we could have like a song for each A-list.
That's
and
totally
they both
true,
showed like different sides of his career as well.
Castle on the Hill, big anthemic guitar song, totally opposite.
But I think Castle on the Hill was very classically Ed, and then this was kind of a switch up. So he was right in that like one of them was going to do well, whichever one it was, he didn't mind.
Yeah. Everyone's a winner when it comes to Ed Sheeran. Well, Ed Sheeran's the ultimate winner.
Ed Sheeran's the only winner.
Ed Sheeran is always the winner, yeah.
But there was a podcast that I was listening to at the time, and I actually went back and listened to this first episode of it before we started recording this, and it was called Unbreak My Chart, and it was by Laura Snapes and Fraser McAlpine, who are 2 music journalists, but they were kind of talking about how the only person who could have toppled Ed in terms of sales that year was Taylor Swift. And I think that brings us to quite an interesting time in the charts, where there are only a few pop stars who are like this next level, like mega superstar, who are completely untouchable, who, like Taylor and like Drake, like we mentioned before, can completely wipe out a chart. And there's, because you've got like big pop stars who are huge pop stars, but they're not quite the level of Ed and Taylor and Drake. So if you've got someone like Beyonce, who is one of the most well-known and one of the biggest pop stars of all time, Renaissance didn't wipe out the chart like Midnight's did.
No.
There's like different levels to pop stars, and it's just really interesting how the charts work these days.
Yeah, there's like a tiered sort of system going on. You've got people who are sort of niche people who exist in their own spheres with their own massive dedicated fan bases that maybe you would consider to be big pop stars. Like Lorde is probably the best example of this, or Carly Rae Jepsen, who present as pop stars are
or
making what would have been broad, big capital P pop music, but it doesn't chart in the same way because the charts are totally different. So someone who is still very much not a niche pop star is obviously Ed Sheeran. Top of the game.
Yeah.
He's been at the top of the game for a long time now. So normally we say, where are they now? Right? I think you know where Ed Sheeran is, because at the time of recording, he's number one. He'll probably be actually, he's not number one at the time of recording. He was last week. Right? I'll talk about this in a second. Right? So he'll probably be number one in 5 years' time, probably number one in 10 years' time, whenever you listen to the show again. So he's always kind of ubiquitous. But his latest single, which was Eyes Closed, was at number one. But in contrast to Shape of You, only number one for 1 week.
Interesting,
isn't it? Yeah, because Flowers by Miley, which is like the biggest song of the year, is still kicking about. And our old friend Calvin Harris with Ellie Goulding, incredible song, Miracle. At the time of recording, that is number one right now. But Ed is still very much in the mix. And I think he's got someone in his back pocket that's going to be much bigger than Eyes Closed.
Yeah. Maybe just a teaser.
Yeah.
This one. But I think this is Eyes Closed, which I've incorrectly written in the script as Eyes Open, because I've only heard it once on Radio 1. But that's like the first single from his upcoming 5th album, Subtract.
Still going with those symbols. Still going. He will not give them up.
No. What's he going to do when he runs out, though?
Yeah, didn't he say the quote was...
He said that he's got like a different category of symbols to go for. So I'm looking forward to the 2026 album, !
He said that he's cycling through the major sort of math symbols. So obviously he's ranking all the math symbols and thought, these are the important ones.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do
maths.
I'm not going to do pi. I'm not going to do Pythagoras theorem or anything like that.
No. Square Root might be a remix album.
Good idea.
But interestingly, he's already toured Subtract. He did like his own eras tour, if you will, last year. It was like a massive stadium tour, like global stadiums, for all 5 of his albums. So Subtract, before it was announced, was like on the poster, I think, for that tour.
Yeah.
It was a huge tour. Had some fantastic opening acts, by the way. When I was looking at the like stats for it, the info for it, he had Griff and Maisie Peters and Dylan and Cat Burns as opening acts, which is like actually very switched on. Like that is a good pop crop to have.
Yeah, credit to you, Ed. Good taste.
Yeah,
well done.
Great taste. But yeah, I think that it's quite impressive that he still does the tours by himself. Like it's just him and his loop pedal.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Like nothing's changed apart from bigger.
When you imagine a stadium show, like it's mad that he does it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just released his first single from his next album, which, just to come back to SBTV, it is said to be a tribute to Jamal Edwards, who massively influential figure in British music. I don't think his impact on British music can be underestimated, and obviously Ed thinks the same. He dedicated this track to him, and I think that is. Well, Ed said that he owes his career to Jamal Edwards, which I think, considering Ed has spent most of his career playing this like nice guy character, I actually think that this is a really like sincere and wholesome thing to do.
Yeah,
it feels more sincere than some of these like faux nostalgic songs like Castle on the Hill.
Yeah, we can totally echo the sentiments of this song. Yeah, 100%.
But to be fair to him, it might not be number one at the moment, but he is currently the 4th most streamed artist in the world on Spotify.
Not
So
doing
not
too
doing
badly,
bad
is
at all.
it? Yeah.
He's had 14 UK number ones, 41 UK top 10s, and has collectively spent 61 weeks at number 1 in total. Not consecutively, but in total.
Yeah.
Album-wise, he's had 5 UK number 1 albums, so multiply, divide, the number 6 collaborations project that he did in 2019, and Equals last year. And this statistic absolutely blows my mind, but he has spent a whopping 373 weeks in the album chart top 10 overall. That is an obscene amount of time to be in the top 10. Again, it's not consecutively, but when you think about the fact that like his debut album only came out like, what, 12 years ago, was it?
Yeah.
11, 12 years ago? And he spent over 7 of those years with a top 10 album.
Yeah, there is no one bigger, no bigger figure in British music, certainly in terms of the charts and everything like that, than Ed Sheeran in the last, 15 years.
Yeah.
You can see why
Imagine
he loves
that, though.
him.
Imagine
You see why he
every
loves
week.
maths so much.
Yeah.
With those numbers.
Imagine every week you're just like, yeah, I've still got a top 10 album. Like, for like fucking 7 years. Yeah, I'm still top 10.
Yeah, so one of those artists who has
Mental.
not yet at any point had anything close to a flop era.
Yeah, basically.
No flops. Not yet, anyway. Maybe a flop will be coming. Maybe. But right now,
Maybe this will be his demise.
yeah,
Maybe.
just as soon as we release this, that's it, over for you.
Yeah,
Ed.
Curse him.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
I feel like you can't deny the facts, though. You really can't. Like,
You can-
like I say, I'm
yeah.
not like huge on Ed Sheeran, but I feel like he's undeniably massive, and I think credit should be given to that.
Yeah, absolutely. We salute you, Ed. Well done. Final thing that's left to do is to rate Shape of You on our scale of 0 to 100. What are we saying?
Would you like to go first?
Yes, I think this is absolutely a good song. I think Ubiquity has kind of hindered it a little bit. It doesn't, it's around so much, so it's hard to sort of look at it in isolation. But I think that I'm going to go with 64 for Shape of You.
Okay. I'm going to stick with a similar reasoning because for me, it's not like a bad song. Like when I hear it, I'm not like when I hear it now, I'm not offended. Like when I had to go back and listen to it for this podcast, I wasn't like, this is a horrible song. I think it's an overplayed song. Like I think it's a song I'm very tired of. But yeah, I'm going to stick around the same number. I'm going to go for 65.
65. Okay, love it.
I just prefer an odd number to an even one.
That's fair reasoning. I will give you that. So yeah, there you go. That is Ed Sheeran. That is Shape of You, and that is our show.
That's
Fun.
it for this time.
10 episodes in the bag. We hope you have enjoyed this little trip through pop history. Been fun, isn't it? Good.
Yeah. And luckily there will be another series coming because the source material is endless.
Yeah. If you would like to sort of give us any feedback or request that we cover any of your faves, remember, if your fave never got to number 1, we ain't doing it. So take up with them, not us, for failing. So, but if you do have any
sorry
requests,
about that. We can't do anything about that. Sorry.
if you're a massive fan of It's Chico Time by Chico, get in touch. We'll see what we can do for you.
Or you can pick one of the 14 Westlife singles that went to number 1 in the 2000s.
Yeah. If you can find a good one, let us know.
But next series we've finished we've done quite a nice introduction series, so we might just start ripping stuff to bits next time.
Yeah, so there's lots of fun and pop adventures that we still have to stories that we can tell. So we hope you've enjoyed everything we do. If you want to listen to any of these episodes or listen to anything that you want, you can do it on the Dork app, where all the fun stuff is happening. You can also listen on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and yeah, that's the information.
If you want to get in touch, it's at Read Dork. You know the drill.
Say hello, and thanks very much for listening, everyone. We will speak to you at some point in the future. Hopefully, have a wonderful life in the meantime. Bye-bye.
Thank you and good night.
I'm in love with your body. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you. Come on, be my baby.
Chat Attack is brought to you by Dork. It's hosted by Abigail Firth and Martin Young, and it's produced by Patrick Gunning. All chart data is sourced from the official charts company. You can follow us or get in touch across socials at Chart Attack Pod or via the Dork accounts at Read Dork and at Dork Radio. Thank you for listening.
I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. Last night you were in my room. Now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. Come on, be my baby. Come on, come on, be I'm in love with your body. Come on, be my baby. Come on, come on, be I'm in love with your body. Come on, be my baby. Come on, come on, be I'm in love with your body. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you.